Part 1. The warning. Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished fixing the coffee machine in the station's main dining hall. It was his third repair today, and the day was only half over. Being the only human engineer on Harmony's Edge research station meant he stayed busy. The other species seemed to break things in ways that made no sense to him, but somehow he always found a way to fix them. "Another successful repair, I see," said Dr. Vextel, a tall, blue-skinned Altarian scientist. His forearms moved gracefully as he poured himself a cup of the fresh coffee. "Your species has such ... interesting ... methods." Marcus knew what that meant. Interesting was alien speak for weird, but it works. He had heard it 1,000 times in his 2 years on the station. The other species used advanced scanners, quantum tools, and AI assistance for repairs. Marcus used his hands, his eyes, and something the aliens called primitive intuition. "Thanks," Marcus said, packing up his simple toolbox. "Just happy to help." As he turned to leave, he noticed her again. Zareth, the Kyrillian warrior scholar, sat alone at a corner table. She was the most impressive being Marcus had ever seen. Nearly 7 feet tall, with golden skin that seemed to glow under the station's lights, and amber eyes that held the wisdom of ages. Her people were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors and brilliant scholars. But today, something was wrong. Marcus had noticed it for weeks now. Zareth's breathing seemed harder. Her golden skin looked pale. And most telling of all, the chest piece of her ceremonial armor flickered with warning lights that she tried to hide with her long dark hair. The armor was beautiful. It was made of some kind of living metal that shifted and moved like liquid. It covered her torso and arms in intricate patterns. Marcus had learned it was a family heirloom, passed down through generations of Kyrillian warriors. It wasn't just armor, it was a life support system, an air filter, and a connection to her ancestors. All in one, and it was clearly broken. Marcus watched as Zareth tried to take a deep breath and winced. The armor's chest panel flashed red for just a moment before she pressed her hand against it, making it return to its normal blue glow. She looked around to see if anyone noticed, and her eyes met Marcus's. For a moment, they stared at each other. Across the dining hall, then Zareth looked away quickly, as if ashamed to be seen in weakness. Marcus made a decision. He walked over to her table, his toolbox in hand. "Excuse me," he said politely. "I couldn't help but notice your armor seems to be having some issues. I'm the station's repair engineer. Maybe I could take a look." Zareth's amber eyes flashed with something between anger and fear. She stood up quickly, towering over Marcus. Every conversation in the dining hall stopped. Other aliens turned to watch what would happen next. "Be careful, human," Zareth said. Her voice was deep and musical, but carried a clear warning. "This armor has killed 3 repair specialists from advanced species. Your fragile hands will only make it worse." Marcus felt the weight of every alien's stare. He heard whispers starting around the room. "The human thinks he can fix Corellian." "Warrior tech," someone muttered. "Humans are so clumsy with delicate equipment," said another voice. "Remember what happened when that human tried to fix the vegan crystal matrix? Took 3 days to clean up the mess?" Dr. Vextel approached their table, his forearms moving in what Marcus recognized as a gesture of concern. "Marcus, my friend, perhaps you should reconsider. Kyrillian armor technology is far beyond even our most advanced species. It uses quantum biological interfaces that respond to neural patterns we barely understand. A Nexus unit, half machine and half organic, rolled up on its hover platform. Its mechanical voice buzzed with electronic sounds. Confirmed. 3 repair attempts have resulted in catastrophic failures. Human probability of success, 0.003%. Marcus looked around at all the faces staring at him. Some showed pity. Others showed amusement. They all thought the same thing. Humans were the fix-it species because they were too dumb to know. When something couldn't be fixed, but Marcus wasn't looking at their faces anymore. He was looking at Zareth. Despite her warning, despite her proud stance, he could see something else in her eyes. Something she was trying to hide. She was scared. I understand the risks, Marcus said quietly, looking directly at Zareth. Oh, but I also understand what happens if we don't try. That armor isn't just malfunctioning, it's poisoning you. Atmospheric filters are corrupted. I can see it in your breathing, in your skin color. You're dying. The dining hall went completely silent. Even the kitchen staff stopped their work to listen. Zarath's golden skin flushed darker. You know nothing about Kyrillian physiology, human, and you know nothing about honor. This armor belongs to my family line. It has been worn by warriors for 800 years. It cannot be touched by Marcus finished. By someone who does not understand its significance, Zareth said, but her voice was quieter now. Marcus set down his toolbox and opened it. Inside were simple tools, screwdrivers, pliers, a small scanner, some electrical tape. Nothing fancy. Nothing that looked capable of fixing technology from one of the galaxy's most advanced warrior cultures. You're right, Marcus said. I don't understand the significance. I don't understand the honor codes or the family traditions. I don't even understand how the technology works. Not really. He looked up at her, and his brown eyes met her amber ones again. But I understand that you're in pain. I understand that you're trying to hide it because asking for help goes against everything your culture teaches. And I understand that in about a week, maybe 2, that armor is going to stop filtering toxins completely, and you're going to die. The silence stretched longer. Marcus could hear the hum of the station's life support systems, the distant sound of ships docking, the quiet breathing of dozens of different species, all waiting to see what would happen next. Finally, Zareth spoke. The last specialist who tried to help was a Vithic crystal engineer. Their people invented quantum resonance technology. The armor's bioneural feedback nearly killed him. What about the others? Marcus asked. A Nexus technician with 17. Different analytical programs. The armor rejected every approach. Zaroth's voice was getting weaker. An Atarian doctor with 4 centuries of experience in biomechanical integration. The armor. ... She paused, touching the chest panel again. The armor screamed. Marcus felt a chill go down his spine. Screamed. Armor is alive. In a way, Dr. Vextel explained. It bonds with the wearer's emotions, their life force. When someone tries to repair it without understanding that bond, it fights back, Zareth finished. It protects itself the only way it knows how. By rejecting the repair, and sometimes... She looked directly at Marcus. Sometimes by killing the one who tries. Marcus closed his toolbox and stood up. Every alien in the room seemed to lean forward, waiting to see if the human would finally admit defeat and walk away. Instead, Marcus smiled. Well, he said, I guess that explains why you warned me to be careful. Zareth stared at him in confusion. You still want to try? Even knowing that it might kill you? Marcus looked around the room at all the watching faces. Some showed disbelief, others showed respect for what they thought was foolish bravery.
I'll bite.
But Marcus wasn't thinking about any of them. He was thinking about the way Zareth had winced when she tried to breathe. She sat alone because she didn't want others to see her weakness. The way her proud shoulders had started to slump just a little more each day. I've been watching you for 3 weeks, Marcus said. Every day you get a little weaker. Every day that armor hurts you a little more. And every day you sit alone, because your honor won't let you ask for help. He picked up his toolbox again. So yes, I still want to try. Because the worst thing that could happen to me is that I die trying to help someone. But the worst thing that could happen to you is that you die because no one tried to help at all. The dining hall erupted in whispers. Some aliens shook their heads in amazement at human stubbornness. Others muttered about human stupidity. But a few, just a few, looked at Marcus with something that might have been respect. Zaret H stood very still for a long moment, then slowly, she sat back down. "Be careful, human," she said again. But this time, her voice carried no warning. This time, it carried hope. Part 2. The challenge Marcus spent the next 3 days studying Zarath from across the station. Couldn't get close enough to examine her armor directly. Every time he tried, she would find an excuse to leave. But he was learning things anyway. He watched her during meals. Zarath used to eat with the other Kyrillian scholars who visited the station. But now she sat alone. She took smaller bites and chewed longer, as if swallowing was difficult. Chest panel of her armor flickered more often now, sometimes staying red for several seconds. Before returning to blue, Marcus also watched her during her daily sword practice in the station's gym. Kyrillians were famous for their graceful fighting style, but Zarath's movements were getting slower. She had to pause between exercises, pretending to examine her weapon while she caught her breath. "You're watching our warrior friend quite closely," Dr. Vextel said one evening. He found Marcus in the observation deck, looking down at the gym where Zarath was practicing alone. "I'm trying to understand how the armor works," Marcus said. "Look at the way it moves with her. See how the metal flows like water when she raises her arms. But watch what happens when she gets tired." Dr. Vextel looked closer. As Zarath's breathing became more labored, the armor seemed to struggle too. The smooth, flowing movements became jerky. The golden color grew darker. "Fascinating," Dr. Vextel murmured. "It is responding to her physical condition." "More than that," Marcus said. "It's responding to her emotions. Watch." Down in the gym, another Kyrillian approached Zarath. Marcus couldn't hear what they said, but he could see Zarath's body language change. Her shoulders straightened, her chin lifted with pride. And immediately the armor's color brightened. The flickering red lights disappeared. "She's hiding her pain," Marcus realized. "The armor is helping her hide it." But that's making the problem worse. Dr. Vextel's forearms moved in a gesture of confusion. "I do not understand. Why would the armor help her hide a malfunction?" Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking, what if it's not a malfunction? What if the armor is working exactly as it was designed to work? That makes no sense, my friend. The armor is clearly poisoning her. Is it? Marcus asked. Or is it responding to something else? Something emotional? Before Dr. Vextel could answer, an alarm began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed in the hallways. Marcus and Dr. Vextel rushed toward the main conference room, where the station's diplomatic meetings were held. They arrived to find chaos. Ambassador Kretak from the Vegan Collective was arguing loudly with Captain Ural from the Nexus fleet. In the middle of them all, Zarath stood as a translator and mediator, as she often did during interspecies disputes. But something was wrong. Zaret H swayed on her feet, her golden skin now almost gray. The armor's chest panel wasn't just flickering red, it was pulsing like a dying heartbeat. "The trade agreement cannot include Sector 7, Ambassador Kretak was saying, his crystal body ringing with angry tones. "My people have sacred sites there that cannot be disturbed by mining operations. Sacred sites have no legal standing in galactic commerce law," Captain Ural replied through his mechanical voice box. "The Nexus fleet requires those mineral rights to maintain our ship construction schedules." Zaret H tried to speak, but her voice came out as barely a whisper. Perhaps we could find a compromise." She took a step forward and stumbled. Marcus rushed to catch her as she fell. "Medical emergency," shouted. "Someone call Dr. Shen?" As Marcus helped Zarath to a chair, her armor suddenly went completely dark. No lights, no movement, nothing. It became rigid around her body like a metal prison. Dr. Shen, station's Altarian chief medical officer, arrived within minutes. Her forearms moved quickly as she scanned Zarath with multiple medical devices. "Severe atmospheric poisoning," she announced. "The armor's filtration system has completely failed. We need to remove it immediately," No Zarath whispered, barely conscious. "Cannot... remove... family honor." Dr. Shen tried to find a way to take off the armor, but it wouldn't budge. It has some kind of biolock," she said. I cannot remove it without the wearer's conscious permission, and she is too sick to give proper consent. Then we fix it, Marcus said. Right here, right now. Absolutely not, Captain Ural stated. The risk is too great. We should contact Kyrillian engineers. They can arrive in. Checking shipping schedules. ... 6 standard days. Marcus looked at Zareth's gray face. She doesn't have 6 days. She might not have 6 hours. 8. Dr. Shen checked her readings again. The human is correct. The toxin levels are approaching fatal limits. Ambassador Kretak's crystal body chimed with worry. Perhaps we should attempt repair anyway. The alternative is certain death. Unacceptable risk, Captain Ural repeated. Previous repair attempts by advanced species have failed catastrophically. Human success probability remains 0.003%. Marcus knelt beside Zareth S. chair and opened his simple toolbox. Around him, aliens argued about regulations, protocols, and probability statistics. But Marcus wasn't listening to them anymore. He was looking at the armor. Up close, it was even more beautiful than he had thought. The metal surface wasn't just smooth. It had tiny patterns etched into it, like writing, or maybe like circuit boards. But as he looked closer, Marcus realized they weren't patterns at all. They were scars. Dr. Vextal, he called. Can you translate these markings? Dr. Vextal came over and examined the armor's surface. These are ... battle records. Each mark represents a conflict where this armor was worn. Some of these are centuries old. Marcus ran his finger along one of the marks. The metal felt warm, almost alive. It's not just armor, he said slowly. It's a memorial. Every warrior who wore this left part of their story in the metal. That is correct, Dr. Shen said. Kyrillian armor bonds with its wearer's bioneural patterns. Over generations, it builds up layers of memory and emotion. Marcus looked up at her. What happens to all those memories when the armor malfunctions? Dr. Shen's forearms stopped moving. I had not considered that. The accumulated emotional data would become corrupted. The armor would be experiencing centuries of confused memories and conflicting emotions. Like trauma, Marcus said quietly. Captain. Ural's mechanical voice buzzed with disagreement. Armor cannot experience trauma. It is a machine. It's not just a machine, Marcus said, standing up. It's alive. And it's been carrying the pain and fear of hundreds of warriors for centuries. No wonder it fights back when strangers try to fix it. He looked around the room at all the advanced species. All the sophisticated technology, all the logical approaches that had failed. You've all been trying to repair the technical systems, he said. But what if the technical problems aren't the real problem? What if the armor is broken emotionally? The room fell silent. Even Captain Ural's mechanical humming stopped. That is ... Dr. Vextal paused, his forearms moving in complex patterns as he thought. That is actually a reasonable hypothesis. But how would one repair emotional damage in a bioneural system? Marcus looked down at Zareth, who was barely breathing now. Her life was slipping away while they stood there talking. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm going to find out. He pulled out his scanner, the simplest device in his toolbox. While the others watched, he began running it slowly over the armor surface, not looking for technical problems, but for something else entirely. What are you scanning for? Dr. Shen asked. Patterns, Marcus said. Emotional patterns. If this armor carries the memories of every warrior who wore it, then somewhere in there is the memory of how it's supposed to work, how it worked before. It got broken. The scanner beeped softly as it moved over different sections of the armor. Most areas showed chaotic, conflicting signals, but in a few places, very small areas, the signals were clean and calm. There, Marcus said, pointing to a spot near the armor's heart. That section is still working correctly. It remembers what peace feels like. He looked up at the assembled aliens, all watching him with expressions ranging from hope to skepticism. Think I know what I need to do, he said. It's going to be dangerous, and it's going to sound crazy. Crazier than a human trying to repair Kyrillian warrior technology? Dr. Vextal asked with what might have been humor. Marcus smiled grimly. Much crazier. I'm not going to repair the armor at all. I'm going to talk to it. Part 3. The connection. Marcus sat in the station's library at 3 in the morning, surrounded by data tablets and holographic displays. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he couldn't stop reading. Zarat H was in the medical bay, kept alive by emergency life support, while her armor remained locked around her body like a metal coffin. He had 6 hours, maybe less. Dr. Shen had been clear about the timeline. The toxin levels in Zarath's blood were rising every hour. The armor's filtration system wasn't just broken, it was actively pumping poison into her system. But every time they tried to override the biolocks to remove the armor, it would send feedback pulses that nearly stopped her heart. The armor thinks it's protecting her, Dr. Shen had explained. It won't let us remove it because that would go against its basic programming. But it's also too damaged to realize it's killing her. So Marcus had come to the library to learn everything he could about Kyrelian culture and history. If he was going to talk to an armor full of centuries of warrior memories, he needed to understand what those warriors had lived through. What he found broke his heart. The Kyrelians hadn't always been a warrior culture. The oldest records showed a peaceful people who valued art, music, and emotional expression. They wore armor not for war, but for ceremony. Beautiful. Living metal that responded to their feelings and helped them share emotions with each other. But then came the Void War. Marcus read through battle reports from 800 years ago. An enemy called the Devourers had swept through Kyrelian space, destroying entire planets. Peaceful Kyrelians had been forced to become warriors almost overnight. Their ceremonial armor was redesigned for battle. Their emotional openness was seen as weakness, and their culture changed forever. The armor changed too. The bioneural interfaces were modified to suppress fear and doubt, Marcus read from one technical report. Warriors wearing the armor could fight without being paralyzed by terror. The armor would absorb negative emotions and lock them away, allowing the wearer to focus purely on combat effectiveness. Marcus leaned back in his chair, understanding flooding through him. The armor hadn't been designed to carry centuries of trauma. It had been modified to hide trauma, to push it down deep where it couldn't interfere with fighting. But emotions couldn't be locked away forever. Eventually, they had to go somewhere. You found something, Dr. Vextel said, entering the library. Quietly, I can see it in your face. Marcus showed him the records. The armor was turned into an emotional prison. For 800 years, every warrior who wore it pushed their pain and fear into the bioneural matrix instead of dealing with it. The armor was supposed to help them fight, but it was also supposed to be cleaned and reset between wearers. That did not happen? Look at this. Marcus pointed to another document. The war lasted 300 years. There was no time for proper maintenance rituals. Warriors died in battle, and their armor was passed immediately to the next fighter. Generation after generation, the emotional damage just kept building up. Dr. Vextal's forearms moved in a pattern Marcus had learned meant deep concern. So, the armor Zarath wears contains the suppressed trauma of dozens of warriors. Hundreds, Marcus corrected. And now it's so full of pain and fear that it can't function properly anymore. It's like ... like a cup that's been overfilled. Emotional pressure has to go somewhere, so it's leaking out as system failures. But Zaret H is not a warrior in the traditional sense, Dr. Vextel pointed out. She is a scholar who studies ancient languages and diplomatic protocols. Marcus nodded. Exactly. The armor was designed for warriors who could handle its emotional load through combat and aggression. But Zaret H is peaceful. She can't release the armor's accumulated trauma through fighting, so it just keeps building up inside both of them. A soft chime indicated someone was entering the library. Marcus looked up to see Captain Ural rolling in on his hover platform, followed by Ambassador Kretak. The subject's condition is deteriorating rapidly, Captain Ural announced. Dr. Shen, estimates 47 minutes until complete system failure. Ambassador Kretak's crystal body chimed sadly. We have contacted the Kyrelian homeworld, but their engineers cannot arrive in time. Some are suggesting we should... Double quotes. suggests we should let the warrior die with honor rather than risk making her suffering worse. Marcus stood up quickly. No. I think I understand what needs to be done. You have found a technical solution, Captain Ural asked. Not technical, Marcus said. Emotional. The armor isn't broken. It's traumatized. All those centuries of warriors hiding their pain instead of healing from it have left the bioneural matrix completely overwhelmed. It can't tell the difference between past trauma and present reality. I gathered up the data tablets, his mind racing with possibilities. Think about it, he continued. Every time someone has tried to repair the armor, they've approached it as a machine. But it's not a machine, it's more like a person who's been through too much and can't trust anyone anymore. Ambassador Kretak's crystal harmonics shifted. To a note of interest, speak as if the armor has consciousness. Maybe it does, in a way, Marcus said. If you put enough memories and emotions into a bioneural system, eventually it starts to feel real. And this armor has been carrying the pain of an entire culture for centuries. They made their way quickly to the medical bay, where Zareth lay unconscious on a medical table. The armor around her body was now completely black, its surface rough and chaotic instead of smooth. Warning lights blinked urgently on every piece of medical equipment. Dr. Shen met them at the door. Her vital signs are failing. Whatever you plan to do, it must be now.
Oh.
Marcus approached the medical table slowly. Up close, he could see that the armor's surface was actually moving slightly, as if something was struggling underneath. The metal looked almost diseased with dark veins, running through it like infection. It's fighting itself, he realized. The armor wants to protect her, but it's too damaged to do it properly. He pulled a simple chair up beside the medical table and sat down. Then he did something that made every alien in the room stare in confusion. He placed his hand gently on the armor's chest plate and began to talk. Hello, he said quietly. I know you're scared. I know you've been carrying too much pain for too long. The armor's surface rippled under his touch, but didn't shock him or try to push him away. My name is Marcus, he continued. I'm here to help, not to fix you like a machine, but to listen to you like a friend. Dr. Vextel whispered, Marcus, what are you doing? Something the other repair specialists never tried, Marcus replied. Without looking away from the armor, I'm treating it like it has feelings. He kept his hand on the chest plate and continued talking. I've been reading about your history. About the Void War, and how your people had to change from artists into warriors. That must have been terrifying. The armor's surface seemed to grow warmer under his hand. All those warriors who wore you, they were scared too, but they couldn't show it, could they? They had to be strong, had to keep fighting. So they pushed all that fear down into you. Marcus could feel something changing. The metal under his palm was becoming smoother, less chaotic. But you weren't meant to carry all that alone, were you? You were supposed to be clean between wearers. Given time to process and release all those emotions. Instead, you just kept taking on more and more pain until you couldn't handle it anymore. Dr. Shen's medical scanners began beeping with new readings. Something is happening, she reported. The armor's bioneural activity is changing. Marcus kept talking, his voice gentle and understanding. And now you're wearing Zeroth, who isn't like those old warriors. She's gentle like your people. Used to be before the war. She reminds you of what you were originally made to do, to help people express their emotions, not hide them. The armor's color began to shift from black to dark gray. But you're so full of old pain that you can't connect with her properly. Every time you try to help, all that stored trauma gets in the way. You want to protect her, but you don't remember. How to do it without hurting? Rakuza felt tears in his eyes as he spoke. He was thinking about his own species, about how humans dealt with trauma by talking about it, sharing it, healing together instead of hiding it away. It's okay to let go of that old pain, he said softly. Those warriors would want you to. They wouldn't want their trauma to hurt someone innocent like Zareth. The armor suddenly pulsed with bright light, and for a moment Marcus felt something incredible. It was like touching the edge of a vast, ancient mind full of memories and emotions stretching back centuries, and in that moment, he felt the armor's desperate longing to be healed. I understand, Marcus whispered. You don't know how to let go of all that pain because no one ever taught you how. But I can help. Humans are good at healing from trauma. We can teach you. The armor grew brighter, and Zareth took her first deep breath in ours. Marcus smiled through his tears. That's it. You're remembering how to protect instead of just survive. Let me help you remember the rest. Part 4. The break through the armor's light grew brighter, but then suddenly flickered and went dark again. Zareth's breathing, which had improved for a moment, became shallow and labored once more. The medical equipment began beeping urgent warnings. Back. Connection is unstable, Dr. Shen reported, her forearms moving quickly over her instruments. Whatever you did worked briefly, but the armor is rejecting the change. Marcus kept his hand on the chest plate, feeling the metal grow cold and rough again. It was like the armor was fighting an internal war between its desire to heal and its centuries of learned trauma responses. Scared, Marcus said. It wants to trust me, but it doesn't know how. All those years of warriors hiding their emotions has taught it that showing vulnerability is dangerous. Captain Ural's mechanical voice buzzed with urgency. Subject's vital signs are approaching critical failure. We estimate less than 30 minutes remaining. Marcus closed his eyes and pressed both hands against the armor. He could feel something vast and ancient underneath the metal surface, not just one consciousness, but dozens of them, all tangled together in pain and confusion. I can feel them, he whispered. All the warriors who wore this armor. They're still here, in a way. Their memories, their fears, their hopes, it's all mixed together. Dr. Vextal leaned closer. What do you sense? Chaos, Marcus said. Imagine trying to have a conversation with 100 people all talking at once. It's all in different languages, all from different time periods. The armor can't tell which memories belong to which warrior, or which emotions are from the past and which are happening now. He opened his eyes and looked at the assembled aliens. I need to go deeper. I need to connect with the armor's bioneural matrix directly. Absolutely not, Dr. Shen said immediately.
Ow.
Direct neural interface with a corrupted system could damage your brain permanently or kill you. The previous specialists who attempted direct connection suffered severe neural feedback, Captain Ural added. One remains in psychiatric care. Another lost the ability to form new memories. Marcus looked down at Zaretha's pale face. Her lips were turning blue from lack of oxygen. She's dying right now. If I don't try something, we lose her anyway. Ambassador Kredek's crystal body chimed with a sound Marcus had learned meant deep. Sadness. The human speaks truth. Perhaps the risk to one is acceptable to save another. Not acceptable, Dr. Vextal said firmly. Marcus, my friend, there must be another way. Your species' emotional intelligence is valuable, but not if it costs your life. Marcus was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he smiled, not with happiness, but with determination.
There is another way,
He said.
But it's going to sound.
Even crazier than what I was planning before. He looked around at the aliens watching him. What if I don't connect to the armor directly? What if I connect to Zareth, and she helps me reach the armor? Dr. Shen's medical scanner began beeping with alarm. Her neural activity is too weak. She is barely conscious. A connection would be impossible. Not a technical connection, Marcus said. An emotional one. Humans are good at sharing feelings, at carrying each other's burdens. What if I could help Zeroth carry the armor's emotional load? Share the weight of all that trauma so she can communicate with it properly. The room fell silent, except for the sound of medical equipment and Zareth's labored breathing, that is. Dr. Vextal paused, his forearms moving in complex patterns. That is not scientifically possible. Emotions cannot be transferred between individuals, can't they? Marcus asked. When someone you care about is sad, don't you feel sad too? When someone is afraid, doesn't it make you afraid? Humans do it all the time. We call it empathy. Placed one hand on Zareth's forehead and kept the other on the armor's chest plate. I'm going to try to feel what she's feeling and what the armor is feeling. Maybe if I can take on some of that emotional weight, it will give them both enough space to communicate clearly. The risk, Dr. Shen began. I know the risk, Marcus interrupted gently. But look at her. We're out of time for safe options. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to open his mind to whatever he could feel from Zareth and the armor. At first, there was nothing but his own nervousness and the sounds of the medical bay. Then, slowly, he began to sense something else. Pain. Deep, aching pain that felt old and tired. Not physical pain, but the kind of hurt that comes from loss and disappointment and fear that never goes away. "I can feel it," he whispered. "The armor's pain. It's like ... like grief. Like mourning for something that was lost long ago." The armor's surface rippled under his hand. Suddenly Marcus was flooded with images and emotions that weren't his own. He saw Kyrilian cities full of music and art, where people wore beautiful armor that glowed with their emotions and helped them share feelings with each other. He felt the joy of connection, the beauty of a culture built on emotional honesty and artistic expression. Then he saw the darkness coming. Ships that ate light itself, creatures that consumed entire planets. He felt the terror of a peaceful people. Realizing they had to learn to fight or die, the images shifted, showing warriors putting on armor that had been changed, modified to hide fear instead of express it. He felt their desperate courage as they fought battles they weren't trained for, using equipment that was meant to suppress the very emotions that made them who they were. Battle after battle, warrior after warrior, each one pushing their pain and fear into the armor, because showing weakness meant death. The armor took it all, absorbed every bit of trauma and terror and heartbreak, until it was carrying the emotional weight of an entire civilization's transformation from artists to soldiers. Marcus gasped as the full force of centuries of accumulated trauma hit him. It was like being caught in an avalanche of grief, fear, rage, and loss. His hands shook and tears streamed down his face. "Marcus," Dr. Vextel called out. "Your neural readings are spiking dangerously." But Marcus couldn't hear him clearly anymore. He was lost in the armor's memories, feeling every battle, every loss, every moment of terror that had been hidden away for generations. He understood now why the previous repair specialists had failed. They had tried to fix the armor without understanding the depth of pain it carried. But Marcus didn't try to fix anything. Instead, he did what humans do best when faced with trauma. He acknowledged it. He felt it fully. He began to speak to it with compassion. "I see you," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "All of you. Every warrior who wore this armor, every battle you fought, every fear you couldn't show. You were so brave. You sacrificed everything to save your people." The armor pulsed with warm light, and Marcus felt something shift in the chaotic mix of emotions. "But the war is over," he continued. "Your people survived. They're safe. You don't have to carry this pain anymore. You don't have to hide it or fight it. You can let it go." Around him, he was vaguely aware of the aliens talking urgently, of medical equipment beeping, of Dr. Shen trying to monitor his vital signs. But Marcus was focused on the vast well of trauma he was helping to heal. "Zareth isn't a warrior," he said, speaking now to both the armor and to Zareth herself. "She's a scholar, a bridge builder, a peacemaker. She's what your people always wanted to be again. She's proof that the sacrifice was worth it." Felt Zareth's consciousness stirring. Felt her becoming aware of the connection between them. Through their link, could sense her amazement at feeling the armor's true nature for the first time, not as a prison or a weapon, but as a repository of her people's entire emotional history. "Can you feel it?" Marcus asked her, knowing, somehow, that she could hear him. The love and hope they carried alongside the fear. They weren't just fighting against something, they were fighting for something. For the chance that someday people like you could exist again. Zareth's breathing deepened, and her eyes fluttered open. When she looked at Marcus, her amber eyes were filled with tears and understanding. "I can feel them," she whispered. "All of them. Don't... right? Proud. Proud. Proud, proud. That their sacrifice led to this moment." The armor blazed with golden light, brighter than Marcus had ever seen it. All around them, the medical equipment began registering normal readings for the first time in weeks. "The bioneural matrix is stabilizing," Dr. Shen announced, her voice filled with wonder. "The toxin levels are dropping rapidly. Whatever you did, It worked. Marcus smiled through his exhaustion, still holding the connection between himself, Zareth, and the armor. "We didn't fix it," he said softly. "We healed it, all of us together." The armor's glow settled into a steady, peaceful radiance, and for the first time in centuries, it was truly at peace. Part 5. The Understanding, 3 days later. Marcus sat in the station's observation lounge, watching ships come and go through the massive viewport. His hands still shook slightly when he thought about the connection he had shared with the armor. The experience had left him emotionally drained, but somehow more aware of the feelings around him. "You look tired, my friend," Dr. Vextel said, settling into a chair beside him. "Dr. Shen says your neural patterns are still recovering from the strain." Marcus nodded. "It's like I can feel everyone's emotions more clearly now." "Is that normal after a neural connection?" "There's nothing normal about what you did," Dr. Vextel replied. "No one has ever attempted to heal trauma through pure empathy before. We're still trying to understand how it worked." Through the viewport, Marcus could see the Chirelian Pride, a sleek ship that had arrived the previous day. Word of what had happened had spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. Chirelian scholars, engineers, and historians were coming to study what Marcus had accomplished. "How is Zareth?" Marcus asked. Dr. Vextel said, pointing across the lounge. Marcus turned to see Zarath entering the observation area. The change in her was remarkable. Her golden skin glowed with health, her amber eyes were bright and clear, and she moved with a fluid grace that spoke of perfect harmony between herself and her armor. But it was the armor itself that took Marcus's breath away, instead of the harsh, militaristic appearance it had worn before. The armor now flowed like liquid art across Zareth's body. Patterns of light moved through its surface, not warning signals or system status indicators, beautiful displays of color that shifted with her emotions. When she smiled, the armor sparkled with warm gold. When she looked thoughtful, it showed deep blue swirls that reminded Marcus of ocean waves. "Marcus," she said, approaching with a grace that seemed almost like dancing, "I wanted to thank you again, not just for saving my life, but for giving me back my heritage." "Your heritage?" Marcus asked. Sarah single quotes sat down beside him. Her armor shifted to a comfortable sitting position, the metal flowing like water. "The armor is working as it was originally designed to work. For the first time in centuries, it is helping me express emotions instead of hiding them." She gestured to the patterns of light moving across her chest piece. "To see how it responds to my feelings? This is how my people used to communicate before the war. Art, emotion, and technology working together in harmony." Marcus watched in fascination as the armor's colors shifted from gold to soft green, as Zareth's mood changed from gratitude to wonder. "But how?" he asked. "I mean, I know we helped it process the old trauma, but how did it remember how to work?" "The old way. The memories were always there," Zareth explained. "Every warrior who wore this armor carried some trace of our people's original nature. The armor preserved those memories even while it was being used to suppress them. When you helped clear away the trauma, those older, deeper memories were finally able to surface again." Captain Ural rolled up on his hover platform, followed by Ambassador Kretak and several other station residents. Word had spread that Zareth was demonstrating the armor's restored capabilities. "Fascinating," Captain Ural said, his mechanical sensors analyzing the armor's light patterns. "The bioneural matrix is operating at 347% efficiency compared to its previous performance. How is this possible?" Zarath's armor shifted to bright silver, which Marcus was learning meant amusement. "Because it is no longer fighting itself. For centuries, the armor was trying to suppress emotions while also being designed to express them. The internal conflict was consuming most of its processing power." Ambassador Kretak's crystal body chimed with curiosity. "And now? Now it can focus all its energy on its true purpose," Zareth said. Her armor displayed a complex pattern of interwoven colors, enhanced physical protection, atmospheric filtration, emotional amplification, and memory preservation. "It is working better than it has in 800 years." Dr. Shen joined the group, her 4 arms carrying various scanning devices. "I have been monitoring Zarath's health since the repair. Not only are all the toxin effects completely reversed, but her overall physical condition has improved dramatically. The armor is now providing optimal life support and even enhancing her natural abilities. Enhanced how? Marcus asked. Zareth stood up and moved to an open area of the lounge. Watch, she said. She began to move through what looked like a dance. But Marcus recognized it as the Chirelian martial arts form he had seen her practice before. However, now her movements were faster, more fluid, and somehow more beautiful. The armor flowed with her like a second skin, and its light patterns created a stunning display that seemed to turn fighting into art. The armor is not just protecting me, Zareth explained as she finished the routine. It is helping me achieve perfect balance between strength and grace, between power and beauty. This is what Chirelian warriors were supposed to be. Not just fighters, but artists of combat. The assembled aliens watched in amazement. Even Captain Ural's mechanical humming seemed impressed. Your species continues to surprise us, Marcus, Dr. Vextal said. Where we saw only technical problems to be solved, you saw emotional wounds to be healed. Marcus felt embarrassed by the attention. I just did what felt right. Anyone could have tried the same thing, Zareth said firmly, her armor flashing. With conviction? Anyone could have tried, but only a human would have succeeded. Your species has something the rest of us lost long ago. The wisdom to know that some problems cannot be solved with logic or technology alone. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Ambassador Kredax, Crystal Harmonics shifted to a thoughtful tone. My people, the Vegas, are masters of crystal technology. We approach every problem through mathematical precision and scientific analysis. Captain Ural's mechanical voice added, the Nexus Collective seeks optimal solutions through data processing and logical algorithms. And my people, the Altarians, rely on advanced knowledge and centuries of accumulated experience, Dr. Shen said. Dr. Vextal, S4 arms, moved in a gesture of realization. But humans, ... Humans trust their feelings. You do not see emotions as obstacles to overcome, but as tools to understand the universe. Zareth nodded, her armor glowing with warm appreciation. When faced with trauma, most species try to analyze it, categorize it, or eliminate it. But humans do something different. You acknowledge it, you feel it, and you help it heal. Marcus looked around at all the aliens staring at him with something like wonder. It's not that special. Humans have been doing emotional healing for thousands of years. We just call it talking to each other, listening, caring. Exactly, Zareth said. And that is what makes it special. Your species has never lost the understanding that intelligence is not just about thinking. It is also about feeling. Over the next few hours, more ships arrived at the station. Word was spreading throughout the galaxy about the human who had repaired Chirelian warrior armor not through advanced technology, but through empathy and emotional understanding. Representatives from dozens of species came to witness Zareth's restored armor and to hear the story of how Marcus had accomplished the impossible. But more importantly, they came with their own impossible problems. A vegan engineer brought a crystal matrix that had been corrupted by the emotional resonance of a destroyed planet. Traditional repair methods had failed because the crystal was grieving for the lost world. A Nexus technician presented a biomechanical component that had developed what could only be described as performance. Anxiety after witnessing too many system failures. An Altarian scientist showed Marcus a research computer that had become paralyzed by the weight of processing too much tragic historical data. They all have the same basic problem, Marcus realized as he examined each case. They're not just technical failures, they're emotional traumas embedded in advanced systems. Dr. Vextal watched as Marcus began working with the vegan crystal, speaking to it gently while running his simple scanners over its surface. This changes everything we thought we knew about advanced technology. If bioneural systems can experience trauma, then they can also experience healing. And if they can experience healing, Zareth added, her armor bright with excitement, then they can evolve beyond their original programming. They can grow. As Marcus worked, other humans on the station began arriving to watch and learn. Soon, human engineers throughout the galaxy would be receiving requests to help heal traumatized technology that no one else could repair. But Marcus wasn't thinking about fame or recognition. Was thinking about something Zareth had said during their connection, that the armor had been proud to see its sacrifice lead to a moment of healing and understanding. We're not just fixing machines, he said quietly as the vegan crystal began to glow with healthy light again. We're helping technology remember what it was meant to be, not just tools for efficiency, but partners in creating something beautiful. Zareth's armor shimmered with agreement, its patterns showing the deep satisfaction of purpose fulfilled. Around the station, other species watched and learned, beginning to understand that the humans they had dismissed as primitive actually possessed the most advanced emotional technology in the galaxy,